January, February, but all the information will go out roughly in December.
Your go-to karaoke, Sweet Caroline?
It is.
Is it? What's your go-to country song?
Oh, The Chair, George Strait.
George Strait? That's a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah.
My wife doesn't like my karaoke. It's all William Shatner karaoke, so there's no rhythm to it. I just sort of beat out a spoken word. It's not good.
This is you, this is me, this is us, and this is the Fest Podcast. Jared, how is that candy pumpkin stew to the Halloween of October?
It's like heroin, man. That stuff is so good.
They are good. It's
you brought it out, you set it right in front of me, you were like shook it around and then tried to move it back behind there.
It's the artist's suggestion.
It is.
And you're like, okay, I'll have one.
I'll have one. All right. Pavlov's dog right here.
Do you want a little secret on that? You take some of those or candy corn, whatever you prefer.
They're both the same, right?
They are, yeah. One's a little bit bigger.
Eat a full bag and get sick and then you don't want them again?
No. You put those in a dish and you take a bunch of peanuts, put that in a dish, same dish, mix it up, take some of those pumpkins, take some of those peanuts. You know what you got?
No.
Salted nut roll.
Salted nut roll.
Glorious. Glorious. My sister-in-law had it this weekend, which we'll get to later. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like,
just eating handfuls, huh?
Yeah, it was good.
All right, so we're going to sound check this bad boy.
Sound check it. We got ND Country Fest updates right away coming out the gate, but that'll be a fun one. We got some good stuff, good updates on what we got going on with YTT, which we call the Your Town Tour.
A little tease there.
And a little karaoke. That's fun. Festival news around the world, Jared.
Yeah, we got some updates about live music actually being played.
And a little bit of us.
Oh, we're going somewhere.
And we actually got a call. Actually, they answered, so that's fun.
I was like, did you really?
And
you did.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me.
Actually, I think the timing was right because it was late at night, so it all worked.
It was perfect.
Headliner is a good one, which is a guy that's respected around the industry and the festival industry, music industry, has decades of experience in front of the stage and behind the stage and producing the event.
Yeah, so you're bringing in Corey from Indie Country Fest.
Our general manager. He's great. Great stories there. Great stories. And then Ralphie's top three.
And we get to see him live. He wanted to come in on Zoom, so he's got himself a little flag. It's worth sticking around.
That's right. For those of you listening on the podcast, head over to our YouTube channel because then you can see everything from our Zoom meetings, from our headliners, and also Ralphie's top three, so you can see Ralphie in the flesh.
And then stage left, you had the Schaefer family reunion this weekend, or just a bunch of people family reunion?
It was my wife's. It wasn't a family reunion, but it was my wife's sisters all coming to town, and then
That's a family reunion.
Their kids
during COVID times.
You want to know what? Yeah, I said this to my wife right before we left, and I was like, you know what this weekend and this whole week felt like? And she's like, no, what? I go, it felt like a holiday. Right. It was awesome. It was cool. Everybody's cooking and everybody's having a blast, but we'll get to that later on.
And I did relatively nothing, so I'm going to give you some Netflix options that just came out or I wandered through because that's the best I can do at the moment.
How can these fine people find us, Jared, on this podcast?
You can find us on iTunes and where you get all of your other podcasting needs out there. So if you go and find us and you've been listening but you're not subscribed, please subscribe, leave a review or a rating, preferably 5 stars. We'd love those 5 stars because it helps us get into the algorithm, helps us get found, and helps us get out there.
Hey, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because that's big. And we are, for the first 100 people that subscribe, we're putting them into a drawing where they will, you know what? It's going to be a drawing for festival tickets around the nation. You thought I was going to say the world.
The world.
Maybe. There's one I'm working on.
That'd be kind of you win tickets to like the Owl Fest in England, or better yet, the what was it? The Val Fair Earth Festival in Guernsey.
Might be cool.
You got to travel, got to fly all the way over there just to go see it.
Hey, there's people still traveling, Jared.
That's true.
So make sure you go to over our YouTube channel on the Fest and go ahead and subscribe and see, man, we have like 18, 19 videos already up there. And
all
super
weekend
awesome.
long, Ralphie was uploading stuff and clips and things. Every 2 seconds, I was getting a notification of a new premiere of something going up. So.
Anyway, it's super cool. And our boys from Light Jumper Media do an excellent job.
Oh, yeah, making us
cutting all
look
that stuff
beautiful
up.
today. We got some fancy lights going on. We got a little blue back there. It looks good around here.
We are rolling. Let's shoot into ND Country Fest updates brought to you by Lee Jaworski of Alliance Real Estate. Find your keys with Lee.
Yeah. So, what do you got going on this weekend? Or what do we
This
got
weekend?
going in the Indie
Nothing.
Country Fest update? So you and I did the update on Facebook Live from the Beast, the Bronco. We going to call it the Beast? What are we calling it? Orange Crush?
No. It's
People
the
think
Bronco.
the Bronco?
The Bronco. I already got that from the from a phone call this morning, actually. That was a conference call. And you never know who's watching lives. You never know who's watching your YouTube channel on the Fest. You never know who's listening to the Fest podcast.
People are listening?
You have no idea. Yeah, actually quite a few, Jared.
I thought we were just screwing around for the heck of it.
Don't be downplaying this.
not.
Maybe you're screwing around, but we're not.
Oh,
No, so they were like, hey, was that your Bronco in that live? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, that thing is badass. And I was like, hey, I love it.
I'm a tall cat. And I had to like really step up to get into that thing.
It's no joke.
We couldn't get into the underpass because we were over 9'4", maybe.
9'4", we lay at about, we rest at a height at 9.6, so we couldn't go through the In-N-Out Burger drive-through.
Yeah, what a bummer that was. We had to go in
We had to park and go in.
like normal people. So on the update, what are we talking about?
So what do we got on the update for ND Country Fest? Obviously, we do have a price increase. We talked about that before on October 21st, so make sure you get the experience you want, especially those VIP tickets. There's not many left. Go to ndcountryfest.com, and you're camping in VIP. There's not many left either. Go to ndcountryfest.com to go ahead and get those tickets. But big updates that we have for this week is our karaoke contest.
It's back on?
It always was.
Always on, huh?
It's always on. It's always on. So we've been working on that for a couple months, and just to get it up going for this upcoming season. And we're super excited because last year we only had like 5 bars participate. This time it's going to be at least double, maybe even triple, and it'll be around the whole state, not just our little pocket of the area, Western North Dakota. So we're super excited about that, and that'll be running. Watch for new information on that in the next couple months up to when we start it. That's roughly going to be January, February, but all the information will go out roughly in December.
Your go-to karaoke, Sweet Caroline?
It is.
Is it? What's your go-to country song?
Oh, The Chair, George Strait.
George Strait? That's a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah.
My wife doesn't like my karaoke. It's all William Shatner karaoke. So there's no rhythm to it. I just sort of beat out a spoken word. It's not good. Not good at all.
But there's a grand prize, and there's a whole grand thing where the winners, and I believe it's the top 3. Don't quote me on this as of quite yet. Bob, I apologize. He's the one that put all the rules together. But hey, the top 3, I believe, play on our side stage during ND Country Fest 2021, and then they get all kinds of nice packages
Wait,
to
you have
come
a
to
side
ND Country
stage?
Fest. Absolutely. It's in our day drinking bar, which is also air conditioned, which also is combined with a casino.
What? How are they going to sing and play and do that when there's all that action going on?
Well, they don't sing and play. They just sing.
They just sing?
And then when they're
Okay.
done, they can go play.
They can go play. You can just roll it in.
Yeah.
All right. So your town tour, what's going on there?
Your town tour, huge headway. Massive headway.
Huge?
Huge. Huge, man. There are going to be 10 nights.
10?
10 nights where we are rolling. On every town, 10 nights, we locked in one national artist and we
What?
walked in one regional artist, and we're working on a third. So wherever we're stopping for the night, we're going to have 3 bands in that bar, in that town. Every night.
Are you going to be alive when you're done with this?
Yes.
I don't know. Last time when you rolled in here and got back, it was a little bit shaky.
I am interested how the light jumper fellas are going to do.
I know. They're going to
Rock on, man.
rock on. I don't think they know what our audience is.
So it'll be 10 nights. Just watch out. Coming soon, we're going to actually announce who that national artist is. It's a big It's a big up and coming band. They're from way down south. They are great. It's country rock, and they are just rolling. Got voted as one of the top up and coming bands in the southern United States.
So should people leave a comment and guess in YouTube?
Yeah, leave a comment. Leave a comment in YouTube and see who
you think it is.
Yeah, check it out. See who it is. But Your Town Tour, that starts February 26th. We run that through March 8th. And watch for that. If you're in the surrounding states in North Dakota, that's where we go around the whole state of North Dakota. We go to 350 locations, stops, and then every stop at the night is a huge party with 3 bands. Wow. And we are doing this, and we're doing it right. And it's going to be unbelievable.
You're going to need to get a IV company that does those B12 IVs or whatever it is as a sponsor, so they can just follow you around and rehydrate you.
That would be ideal.
Right?
So I'm going to say this. So whoever lives on, we'll just say eastern Montana, western Minnesota, or northern South Dakota, or even on the Canadian border by North Dakota, that because we're all around those edges.
Right.
If you want to check us out for February 26th through March 8th, we'll be really close to you. Come on and see us. We'll be giving away all kinds of swag, and it'll be one big party where we're stopping. So it'll be fun, and you'll definitely want to see the band that we're bringing in from down south and the other 2. Yeah, it's super awesome. Let's hear a little bit about Lee, Jared.
All right.
What sets me apart is I like to interact with my clients a little bit more, maybe just actually become more friends with them than just a client business relationship. I'd probably have to say it'd be Who Hut, just because I like the food and my daughter absolutely loves it. I chose real estate because I like to help people, and it's fun, it's exciting, it can be stressful, but it's always good to just find a solution to a problem.
That was Lee Jaworski, the NDCF headliner. Excuse me.
No. The sponsor for the NDC Country Updates.
Lee Jaworski.
Our original sponsor.
With Alliance Real Estate.
You know what I could use? I could use one of those pumpkin.
Jump at it, Jared.
Bring me over this.
Hey, let's pumpkin into festival news around the world.
Outside my window. Don't tell my wife. So, I wanted to talk about drive-ins this week, but you're like, no. I'm tired to talk about those, even though there's some cool stats and cool money and things like that, but there's actually live shows that are going on, and that's what you wanted to go into.
Let's talk about the progress, huh?
That is progress.
Yeah.
I got a mouthful.
Now you got a mouthful and you threw a pumpkin in there. So the Ryman had Scotty McCreery, and that was...
Where's the Ryman?
That's in Nashville, buddy. So that's a capacity of 2362.
I like how you slide there. Like, I didn't know where it was. So
what's that?
You had me look it up to make sure. So,
okay, Jared. And you didn't know where Flying E Ranch was, which was right by your house.
That's true, but I'm not the Dude Ranch guy.
Thanks for the slam, my friend. So that was Ryman, and the Grand Ole Opry had 500 people go through on the weekend. That capacity is 4372. So it is progress. People are going to live music and live shows.
So what I liked about the Ryman was Scotty McCreery was the last show before the COVID lockdown came through, and then he was the first show after the lockdown was opened up. So that's kind of a nice continuity on their part to bring him in and have him do the next show at that point. Grand Ole Opry, we're going to talk about capacity there.
Oh, we already did, Jared.
Did we?
4372.
I was into that.
Grand Ole Opry, 500
You need to put
tickets.
those away. All right, Grand Ole Opry. So Chris Jansen's playing there this weekend. And then Kane's Ballroom.
Kane's Ballroom, where's that at, Jared?
Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
Wow.
450 are coming. 1,800 is capacity. So they're moving right along. Billy Bob's at Fort Worth, Texas. Capacity 6,000, and they're 6,000, and they're letting it open up to 1,200. So that's quick, good, indeed progress for live music. You're not in your car. You're going to see these folks live.
And speaking about going to see somebody live, we're going to go out to the Flying E Ranch and see Tracy Bird in a couple weeks.
Yep, finally got a hold of Angie there at the Flying E Ranch, talked to her, and she said, hey, I'd love you guys to come on down and go see Tracy Bird on the 28th. And you know what? We got some more coming on November 11th and 12th, which are the Haggerty brothers. So that'll be cool too. So we'll be flying out to the Flying E Ranch in Wickenburg, Arizona to go ahead and check out their authentic Dude Ranch and check out those live concerts. So Tracy Bird will be great. And then the Haggerty brothers will be as well.
Yeah, we were checking out the Flying E Ranch website tonight, and Thanksgiving at the ranch sounds like something I want to drag my mom out and do.
It sounds like a good time. It's one of those where you can ride horses, you can do the old, the meal by the campfire, and you can go on the wagon train, and they got some really, really cool stuff out there.
Or better yet, you can see some live music.
It's happening.
All right.
ND Country Fest 2021 is coming back stronger and better than ever with Brantley Gilbert, Dustin Lynch, Little Texas, featuring Diamond Rio, Leroy Parnell, John Michael Montgomery, with more coming soon. Plan now to attend Dakota's largest and nation's fastest growing country music and camping festival, ndcountryfest.com.
Sponsored by Coors Light, Action Motorsports, New Vision Security, Transtrash, Smithworks, and American Family Insurance, DJ Coulter Agency.
All right, we're playing into the headliner, brought to you by Bruno's Pizza, $15.99, any large. Order today at brunosnd.com. And what we have is a great friend of ours, right? And a great friend of ND Country Fest, which we are going to talk to and bring him in later on, which will be great to see him. For those of you listening, you can jump over to YouTube and check it out.
Yeah, it's good. We're moving the story along. So we had been up to this point talking about Indie Country Fest 2017, and then we're going to move it into Indie Country Fest 2018. And literally the planning for that starts almost the night of it finishes or the next day. You and Ralphie are sitting around and kind of talking about what you're going to do, what you need to do, start plotting artists and those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's one of those where we definitely knew when it was over, there's something there, and people, all had an unbelievable time, and the turnout was great. And it was like, man, this can turn from a 1 day to a 3 day easily. We got to get rid of the fence down the middle.
You wanted to see if there was actually a market for this when you started it.
Well, absolutely. It was just a beta test, right? It was a
little trial balloon.
See what happens.
Throw it up and see if it sticks to the wall.
Yeah, if people like it, people show up, and the reviews on it ended up being really good. I mean, obviously, there's some things you can fix always when it's the first time out.
Well, it's your first time. You got to. Things need to be changed.
Right, exactly. So, and then after that, we're like, yeah, we can do this. And we made our chart and we started moving forward and got that fence removed.
Why did you decide to go from 1 to 3 days?
Well, the plan was always to get to 3 days because that's what all of them are, right? I mean, any festival that's a festival is at least 3 days, where it's at least 3 nights of camping and 3 days of music.
Right.
Ours is actually now 4 nights of camping and 3 days of music. But in 2018, that's when we went 3 and 3. And obviously the reviews on that ended up great, because then you get instead of 5 bands, you get 15 bands, and then we up the ante and artists and bigger artists and all across the board. So it was just to keep progressing and getting larger, and then also see what happens,
So what are some of the biggest challenges you face going from like 1 day, 1 night camping? Okay, we got to get some camping in. We got to get 4 artists or a couple opening acts and 2 headliners and kind of go from there. But when you go for 3 nights, 3 days, it becomes a event in and among itself. You've got to expand and do those sort of things.
Well, and it literally is then at that time, because the enormous amount of people that come through, then you're recreating a little city, because you got to think from bathrooms to all the way from parking to camping space to even the garbage collection to security, to safety, all the way around, up and down. But those are the biggest challenges, and then making sure you have, enough workers and even just food for that, to make sure everything's mowed correctly and down and all that stuff.
Who are your volunteers? What's the grass like? Who's coming in? Those sorts of things.
Exactly. And when Ralphie and I were talking, it was, we knew we needed to add another intricate person, because there's more things happening. And all of a sudden you're not just dealing with 3 national artists. Now you're dealing with 7, 8,
right.
And things multiply quickly.
Well, you guys are outsiders, right, to the music festival. You came in and just started this, and you hadn't tapped into that industry yet. So, that was probably one of the things you were looking to do. Right.
And at that time, I would say probably at that or after that time, there was a little ripple out there. But yeah, I mean, you have a year into it. I mean, nobody really knows who you are and what you're about. And
I'd say it's a bigger ripple than just a little.
Yeah. Are you what you say you are and what everybody else says you are? But then when you see most of those people, now it's been 5 years.
Yeah. Well, and how'd the first one go off?
Right. Exactly. Like, who is this?
What's your reputation, and how'd you treat the artists? How'd you treat the fans? How'd you treat the vendors? All those sorts of things.
That's exactly right. And then, and then we have a great opportunity, and it came along, and here we go.
When you're camping for 3 days, did you have to go out and get more space, or how'd you get around that?
We did. We had to go get, because initially our camping spot for the first year was just our VIP camping is right now, and that sold out right away.
Right.
So then there was so we knew we automatically needed more camping, because even like 2 months prior, we could have sold a ton more camping for the first year.
Right. So the VIP camping now is just where all the camping was the
first year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now we have now it's 100 acres. At the other time on year 2 in 2018, we had about another 50 acres, and that was full.
Wow. So each year you're trying to add more camping, right?
Yeah. And that's part of the experience. And you get people that travel from all over North Dakota, all over the Midwest, and all over the nation. They haul their campers, and they want to come and enjoy the experience. So you need, appropriate space.
Did that surprise you?
What's that?
That you ended up needing more and more land each year? The camping seems insatiable. Everybody wants to get in. Everybody wants to camp.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole experience when you camp and you stay there. Right. So what happens, it exponentially expands because it grows. Yeah, because people talk and say, "Oh, you don't go here. Come with us and bring your camper. It's awesome. We'll all get together and." It's
kind of how we start out tailgating. There's 2 of us. Then we got some guys that had a stereo. Then there's 4 of us. Then we figure out that guy's always showing up early. This guy's always showing up early. Why don't we get together and have a good time?
Exactly. Or all of a sudden you have friends, and then 2 of your sets of friends are already going. And then all of a sudden the other 4 are like, well, we want to go because they came for like the day. Right. Or they see all their stuff on their social posts and be like, where are you at? Why didn't you invite me? All that kind of stuff. And then before you know it, you have their whole group of 10 families coming and having a blast, and 10 campers and all that. So it grows exponentially, which it has. It already has for 2021 as well.
Nice.
A man well respected around the music and festival industry, a friend of mine, a comrade, the general manager of ND Country Fest, Corey Bliss. How are you, my friend?
Hi.
Hi,
you guys.
Is that like rah-rah?
Yeah, rah-rah.
Thanks for jumping on, man. Thanks. We appreciate it. Tell us, you have a huge background in the music and festival industry. Tell us how'd you get mixed up in this world, man?
Well, going back to age 15, I was in a band and traveling the Midwest, originating out of northern Indiana and then adjacent states to that. So I got the bug, the itch back then, and one thing leads to another, and I found that I had a real intrigue and interest in learning the technical and production side of the music industry as a performer. And I still, I don't perform much anymore, but I still enjoy playing and whatnot. And I felt like at least what little I dabbled in it was interesting and was a lot of fun and energetic. But I was really intrigued by the mechanics of the music industry. So I jumped into that side of it and haven't looked back.
So sonically speaking, what type of band were you?
So we were probably a cross between like a Pearl Jam and maybe, a little bit of Collective Soul. We did some GNR, but a lot of our influences, honestly, were the grunge bands of the 90s. And my favorite band of all time is Pearl Jam. So
you and Ralphy.
Yeah, that's right. And so, I love all their material. They're on my bucket list as a band to go see someday.
That's cool. So you were a bass player, is that right?
I was, yeah. Yep.
Slapping the bass
player. Yep. Yeah, just I love the groove of it, and I also had some influences in the old school R&B, kind of the hip hop grooves and R&B grooves. I love blues music, which is heavy bass driven. So yeah, bass was my instrument of choice.
So what was your first festival gig, or how'd you get into festivals? I believe there's a little bit of a story behind that, right? In our past conversations.
As of an hour and a half ago.
Shaw.
Well, yeah. So the road to festival life is colorful and fun.
Starts with a girl?
There's a girl involved.
Ooh.
Yes.
Those are the best ones. We got a rom-com going.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I was in a band in the early years of my life, and I got a chance to travel up to the middle north of the country, we like to call it, and hadn't ever before even really heard of North Dakota, let alone Fargo. But met a gal from Fargo at a show we were performing, and I saw her walk into the room. It was a pretty small venue, and saw her walk into the room, and I'm like, I'm going to marry her someday.
Ooh.
So,
how old were you?
I was 17.
Whoa, that's a big statement to say at 17.
Big
yeah,
decision.
it was. But the good part of the story is I'm still with her.
Wow.
And, yeah. So we're going on 25 years together, and it's
good
been
job,
great.
you.
Thanks.
I've been married 25 years, dated 5, so I know that's a big, huge accomplishment.
Right.
Lots of patience.
Yeah. So, when I met my wife and we started having kids, just the rock and roll lifestyle isn't conducive to families.
What?
And more than anything, I wanted to be, a father and a family man. And, so, kind of backed away from the touring and the performing and the recording side of it, and moved to Fargo, North Dakota. And that was June of 1996 was when I landed in Fargo, and I was a fish out of water. Had no clue, I knew nothing about Fargo beyond what the movie depicted, and turns out it was nothing like the movie.
No wood chippers?
And
is that a wood chipper?
Yeah,
it is a wood chipper. Yeah.
But I still had that itch, still had that longing to be in the music industry and to have that as a career. And so I just started looking for, available opportunities, and stumbled upon an event called Fest, which is a country music festival that was in Minnesota, about, a little short hour from east of Fargo, and contacted them and found out that, really the only way I could get involved was at a volunteer level. So I did it, and started as a volunteer, had no idea what I was getting into, but, 24 years later, we're still involved, still love it, still have a passion for it. It's a ton of fun. It's a lot of challenges, but it's been great. It's been a great ride.
That's a story about the Fest. You started as a volunteer.
What is Fest? I always hear about Fest, but I'm from Arizona and Wyoming. It sounded important, but I don't really know. So why don't you explain it a little to me as a noob?
Sure. So Fest, in its prime, was really the iconic country music festival in the country. One of the things that made it what it was the camping aspect was just a huge piece of the entertainment value, if you will. And but it was legendary. It's an event that started in 1983. As far as country music festivals go, it was in on the early birth of country music festivals, and a lot of festivals, young and old, have kind of followed in the footsteps, taking, a similar model as Fest and applied it to their success. So it was in the country music circles. I would argue that it was a bucket list venue for a lot of up and coming and notable A-list artists to perform at.
Absolutely. And they were putting out at the prime, what was it, 40,000 people a day?
Wow.
Type show, right?
Well, honestly, our biggest years would probably touch 50,000.
Yeah.
But like I mentioned on the camping piece, we would camp 32,000 people. on our site. So, that's bigger than most towns in North Dakota.
Right.
It's bigger than any town I lived at in Wyoming.
That's true. That's true.
Right. So, all of that infrastructure, all of the safety services and things like that you would have in any community, any town, any municipality, you had to have at a music festival. And that really intrigued me. I hadn't even considered that, before I got involved as a volunteer. It was like, wow, you really have to build a city,
Right.
essentially. And, it's only for a weekend once a year. It's an incredible thing to witness.
And what's amazing, you start as a volunteer, right? That whole story. And then by, I don't know how many years that was in between, but from there you work all the way up to being the general manager of this massive country music festival, which is a feat in itself.
Yeah. And I was blessed and fortunate, but the thing of it is, and I think the takeaway from it is no matter what position you have, even if it's just a, quote unquote, lowly volunteer position, you learn and you adapt and, find ways to contribute. And that's what I do, it's how I live my life. And, I think there's a little bit of a lesson in there in just, it's kind of how you make it through life, how you're successful is, taking whatever challenges you have in front of you and doing your best to succeed at them. And, a lot of luck and years of in the trenches, later, was successful to climb the ladder.
Well, you always hear people when they're giving advice, like, how did you get into radio? How'd you get into TV? How'd you get into politics? You just start by volunteering and showing up, and then they eventually give you a job and you work your way to the position that you want. So that's kind of an awesome story there. You started as a volunteer, ended up as a GM. So when you heard back in 2017 that there was this little, would you call it ragtag?
No, you would call it a ragtag. I would call it our country music festival.
A little spunky.
Maybe I should take this over.
One day fest. What did you think?
2017, something pops up on your radar, more than likely, right? You're the GM of this massive WeFest country music festival, and all of a sudden something's popping up in North Dakota. Did you hear something about that?
Right. So to give you a little bit of background or insight is, from probably 2008 to, I would say even current, maybe not so much, the year of COVID, but
Right.
There are so many music festivals and festivals of other nature, other genres, art festivals and things like that popping up all over the time, all over the place and all over, all the time, excuse me. And so for something to even create a small ripple, and that's not, a statement, to be offensive or to say that Indie Country Fest in its first year wasn't significant. It's, it created a small ripple in the midst of all of the other events that were cropping up, and, some successful, some, came out with a bang, because they had, massive lineups, as far as talent is concerned. They had big, massive budgets, but for the grassroots effort that Indie Country Fest, started, and was founded, and the fact that it created the ripple that it did was pretty significant and caught my attention. And so the cool part about it is in following up and just kind of, okay, what is this all about? How long have they been doing this? Is this the first year? Has it been around for 5 years and just nobody's known about it?
Nobody hit anybody's radar.
Right. And so, I checked into it, and then, fast forward to, finding out it's a very well-run event and whatnot. And I did some, research on my end just to, dig in more. I was just curious. So I didn't honestly feel threatened, and, they were a whole nother, state away from where I was, and a whole nother culture, it seems like, from, WeFest and the events we did at that venue over the years. But, checking into it, contacting tours and the artists that performed there that first year, Their takeaway honestly was that it was a very well run event for its first year, which is very uncommon. And, one key factor that Luke did that went over really well was that he rolled out the red carpet for the artists that attended that year. They were treated really special. And I think that's key to the growth, a key factor to the growth of Indie Country Fest is that from the beginning, there was a strategy to be the best you can be with what you have. And that has proven dividends in the success of Indie Country Fest over the next couple of years that followed.
Well, that kind of, if you're good to the artists and you treat the artists like they're having a good time, then they're going to have a good time, and then they're going to treat the audience with a good time. Then the vendors are going to make money. They're going to have a good time. Everybody's going to be happy. So if it all starts at the top and works its way down, that's a pretty good business philosophy there.
Well, on the other end too, it was one of those things where it's such a tight knit community. All of a sudden we put this thing on. Corey could make one call or one text and say, "Hey, what's this thing in North Dakota? Right. I know you were there." And then they'll give him his honest opinion right then and there. Like, don't ever go there, never mind. Or like, "Hey,
we had a good time, up and comer."
Right. And what I was going to jump in and say too, to follow up on your point, Jared, is that it starts in the advancing process. That relationship doesn't start when the tours arrive on site or when the fans arrive at the event. That starts in advance. You got to get people to buy into it and believe in it before they're going to attend. And yeah, sure, you're paying substantial amounts of money to book the talent that attend your event. So there's a paycheck on the line, but in the end, they're very, very protective of their brand and anything that they affiliate with. So if they thought it was wonky or not run well,
they'd let people know.
They would be honest. Absolutely. They would be honest.
And it spreads like wildfire, just like any other.
And it's kind of the opposite of that. Because when we were talking with your brother-in-law, Joe, he was talking about how he was in Nashville and he ran into Michael Ray. Mm-hmm. And, they went out to dinner and had a good time. If it hadn't have been a well-run event, they probably would have said, "Hey, nice seeing you."
No, yeah, and they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have, especially because, if you're affiliated with something that isn't good, I mean, nobody wants to
stick around
and be a part of that at all.
Right. Yeah, they would have ignored him and act like they didn't know who he was.
Who are you? I don't know who you are. Yeah. Sure, autograph.
Sure. I'll autograph something for you.
We were fortunate enough, coming off of 17 and then right in the middle, right about going into 18, all of a sudden I get a phone call from your good friend, and now it had become a good friend of Indie Country Fest, which is Joe Schmidt. He calls me and says, "Hey, you should probably give this guy a call." And Joe had been talking to me the whole time while we were doing Indie Country Fest the first year, and then when it was after the fact as well. And he's like, "You got to call this guy. I think he'd be a good fit. I think he'd be great for Indie Country Fest. He has a huge amount of experience in the industry, and he lives in North Dakota. And you're looking for another guy and a good North Dakota guy and all that kind of stuff." And obviously, he gave me your number, and I think he talked to you too as well. Obviously. And Joe Schmidt, you want to expand on Joe Schmidt on that, Corey?
I don't know who he is.
Well, Joe Schmidt is been a longtime friend of mine, and he's a North Dakota resident, a farmer in North Dakota, but he's also a country music singer and songwriter, and has a lot of deep connections in Nashville, and we kind of fell into the same circles, so to speak. But backing up a little bit to give you a little bit of foundation here for this connection, tying Joe to me to Indie Country Fest, is he called me essentially to tell me that, "Hey, man, we're a big fan of everything you do, Corey, but my family and I, we've decided to, no longer attend, this major music festival that you are a part of and you work for." And, they were just, that stage of life, with the kids, they're getting older, and, they were going to do some more family related, things with their kids. And so I said, ironically, hey, Joe, no offense, glad you're letting me know, but I no longer work for them.
Oh,
which caught him off guard, and we hadn't talked in a couple months, and so he didn't know what had transpired. So then he starts talking, come back full circle to the little ripple I'd heard about, the year before, with Indy Country Fest in its founding year. And he starts talking about, hey, these guys have booked my band for this event, and I think it's something that, you would align with, and kind of fits, what they're trying to do kind of fits with the type of person you are, Corey, and, what you believe in, what you like and enjoy and prefer about the event and the event business. And so he said, if you're interested, I'll reach out to the owner and see what develops. And I said, well, I'm not really looking for anything at the time. I'm just, kind of let the dust settle, see what happens. And I said, but yeah, go ahead and let them know, make the connection. If anything comes of it, it'll just be what it is. And so Joe did that, as Luke indicated. And the funny thing is, I'll never forget, is it was a Saturday afternoon, and I get this call from this, Arizona phone number. And
trying to pull you or sell you something. Huh?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's just good policy to not answer a phone call that you don't know.
From Arizona? What are you saying there, buddy?
Right. And so I just let it go to voicemail, and I was in the middle of working on my washing machine. And so I was just, I'll let it go to voicemail. And I got done with that, and then just got distracted. And it wasn't until the next day, nearly 24 hours later, I was on Sunday afternoon, I was, just sitting next to my wife and scrolling through my phone in our idle time. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot there was this number from Arizona, like the voicemail. So
Probably should listen to that one.
Maybe I was trying to sell you a wash machine.
And a dryer.
Nope,
we ended up having to retire that washing machine after I tried to fix it. But yeah, so it's 24 hours later, and I'm finally like listening to the voicemail from Luke, and I'm like, I just felt like an idiot because I didn't even stop what I was in the middle of to check it out. And so I texted him that Sunday evening, just said, hey man, sorry for blowing you off. Do you have time tomorrow? And so we agreed to call to talk the next day on Monday. And I said, I got about a half hour where I'll be driving to an appointment, and we can talk then. Well, we get on the phone, and 2.5 hours later, I've been sitting in front of the office of this meeting I was at, and I was still out in the parking lot, and the receptionist walks out there and knocks on my window and is like, are you coming in for your appointment? That was 2 hours ago. I'm like, yeah, just a minute. It's just a call I couldn't, I had to take, and it's like, I couldn't stop in the middle of it.
It's your typical Luke Schaefer phone call. It starts off for a half hour and then goes to
only if I like you.
Only if you like me? Wow. So I feel liked. I've had these conversations that go on and
there
on
you
and
go.
on. You get done with them and you're like, wow, that seemed excessively long.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like 2.5 hours. I thought it was maybe 45 minutes. So.
Right. And that's the thing, but of it is that we hit it off really well. For and
sure. I think it's hard not to hit it off with Luke. He's got that laugh. He's got that, like, I don't know, something about it.
But there was a connection right away. Like right as soon as I heard you talking, and about 5 minutes into it, I was like, this is a great guy. It's a good guy. He's into it. He has a passion for it. Obviously your experience speaks for itself. And then I think we got just talking about the festival in general, and then ideas were just going like crazy.
Right. And that's what it ended up, just a vision, a conversation just about the future and where could we take this place? And, what do you think the potential is? And, all of those great, brainstorming conversations that you have when you're passionate about something and you just, you want to do it right. And so it was a very easy conversation to have. I never met Luke before in my life. I hadn't talked to him on the phone prior to then. I blew them off the first time. So, I mean, it didn't even start off on the right foot, but, to make a long story short, I mean, we hit it off very well. And what we hit off on is the fact that we align on our principles, and we align on, what is important to the audience. Without the fans, you have nothing.
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you were looking at what you knew what your challenges were. You wanted to tap into the industry, and you wanted to grow a little bit and figure out those things. So getting somebody to come on board with your festival in those areas had already been through it or lived through it. So.
Well, after 17, we knew it, as you can say, as Corey stated, I mean, it made a ripple. I mean, just the people showing up alone, the amount and the excitement about it afterwards and during and all that kind of stuff is like, whoa.
There is an excitement here. We are going to do this.
And not only that this is going to get a lot bigger, probably pretty quick, real fast.
You went from 1 day to 3 days, and, some of it, I guess, will grow as you're like, oh, we're just going to do this and this and this. But when you go from 1 to 3, that's got to be a whole big difference.
Well, we literally went from like 4 artists. No, it was about 5 artists that first 1 dayer to about 15, and then all kinds of camping and all kinds of everything. And it was a feat. And what the story goes, we had already booked all of our talent for 2018 before we even had that conversation, when we had been talking and reaching out and getting everything situated. So that was already done too. But it was yet the meetings and the talks that we had, and how can we make this experience better? It's more, how does it, we always go about like, it's the cleanest show and friendliest show. Everybody that comes off is like, wow, that was great. Everybody was so friendly, which correlates to everything that Corey's saying and his principles and everything with the festival world and safety.
Corey, what's the biggest difference you saw at that time between Indie Country Fest and your old gig at WeFest?
Well, it was fresh. Probably the most obvious difference is just the size, the scale of it. 850 acres at WeFest versus 150 at Indie Country Fest. So just logistically, it was a little simpler. You still have all of the layers, you still have all of the verticals and things that you need to do, but just on a smaller scale. So whereas, at WeFest, I was, responsible for, roughly 1,500 staff, at Indie Country Fest, we could do that with 150. So, and the other thing that's really cool about North Dakota and Indie Country Fest is I've been doing this business, working in this business for a long time, and I was a volunteer. So I started in it as a volunteer, and I know the complications of getting, volunteers to work at an event. And what's really cool about it is the community embracing the event. And 95% of our critical event staff that work on site at the event are volunteers at Indie Country Fest. I have never seen that, whether it was at New York or Colorado or Minnesota or Montana or any other place that I've ever done shows, to have that level of commitment from folks, in the community that want to help. That was a huge, noticeable contrast to, what I experienced before.
And that jumps back to like when we first started talking about why Indie Country Fest, and it was like, why not North Dakota? And everybody knew that they wanted something, they needed something there, and they wanted something of quality. Right. There had been other things, but not to that magnitude of a 3-day, 3-night, all that camping stuff, and then bringing in major artists, and then on top of that, major production. And as soon as they saw that, they were like, we would love to help any which way we can. And the biggest thing, like Corey said, is all those volunteers we have. It's amazing.
Makes it run a lot easier and a little quicker.
Yeah. And the mode, right? You kind of had we've never really talked about this before, Corey, but you were in from your old gig in that mode of the largest and biggest thing that there was, right? That 40,000, 55,000 people. I mean, it's just humming like a machine. Mm-hmm. And then you switch over to a different mode of
nimble,
not necessarily nimble, but now it's going into growth and, growth and creating something basically from grassroots, as we've always talked about. But now it's how can we do these things in the correct manner and the best manner and grow it as quickly as possible after all the years of experience of knowing what to do and what's good and what's not, and then the new creative that comes along with it.
Right. Well, I'm a big fan of, learning from mistakes, and, you can apply what you've learned and to, future things. But the fact is, a well-established event is, it's like a train. It's like an ocean liner. It just has a ton of momentum, and it's hard to make any course corrections along the way. So even if it was for the betterment of the event, it's still a struggle to do those things when, you can see it on paper, you can see it in, the fan base that they want big changes made. So for me,
the iceberg.
Right. So for me, the intriguing aspect of joining forces with a baby event, an infant, is that, we could be creative, we could be innovative, we could do things that, nobody else is doing, because we're not so big and massive that it's, such a huge expense for us, or B, just nobody's buying into it, on the team.
The old, he never did it that way before.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess part of that is, you've got Luke, who's what would you say, an industry outsider just coming in and doing this with all of your views on how business is run or how things are done, merging or wedding with the industry or coming in with you. And it's got to be kind of an interesting shift, because on one hand, he's learning from you. On the other hand, you're learning from him, and then trying to put together this new sort of festival that's out there.
Right. So the nucleus is really interesting in that, Luke's background in the athletics and sporting world is not an area that I had any experience.
Right.
So he brings that to the table, and I bring my depth and knowledge and experience of the music industry, in particular, multi-day music festivals. And then, the rest of our team, which is another contrast to We Fest, where we were a brick and mortar office that we all went and worked at every day. As GM there, I could bring my team into the conference room, and we could, hash through some stuff, and we could brainstorm and do all that. Well, our team with Indie Country Fest is spread out all over the country. We've got California, we've got Kentucky, we've got Nashville, we got Oklahoma, we've got Arizona, we've got North Dakota, we've got Minnesota, we've got South Dakota, and those are just to name a few of our key team members, and then we've got all of our other affiliates that come in from all over the country. So where that started off as a challenge or just unfamiliar territory for me has turned into every single one of those people have experience in all these different elements, and they're bringing all of that into Indie Country Fest. So we're probably the most culturally diverse music.
You kind of know what's going on in the country just because
country music festival in the country, just because of where our team is all, stationed 95% of the year. And so it's a really cool, I think, advantage that we have to, a lot of other events is we can bring in elements that, we see at an event happening in, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We can bring that in. It's never before or ever been seen in our part of the country. And we can add those elements and say, this is just the wow factor or added experience to the thing. The other thing that is really cool, I want to touch on because it's really important. Never have I worked for the multitude of festivals that I worked with, and I mentioned, I did festivals in New York and Colorado and Montana and Minnesota. This is by far the most affordable festival I have ever been aware of or worked for. And so that is a really, really cool thing. We're running this thing so lean and mean that we can pass on that savings to the fans. And so you get this wildly crazy, massive experience for, the entry level price of I don't even know what to compare it to.
It's a good deal.
I don't think there's anything. Yeah, it's such
every
a good
time
deal.
I look at what the VIP tickets are, I'm just like, That's not really going to kick me that hard. It's a definite good buy, or it's worth the value that you're giving your customers or your fans or your patrons.
And the design of that, right, is that so it is affordable. It's not gonna break your bank. You don't have to save up for months, but you can travel to North Dakota, experience North Dakota, experience what's there.
Had that conversation where I'm like, really? Why don't you charge more? And you're like, no, this is what I want.
An experience, a major thing that you can also go and do in North Dakota itself, along with the festival. And then that means you can bring all your friends and family because they're like, well, what's that going to be? $500, $700, just for a ticket? No, it's not. And that's where we do pull people from 30 different states automatically. Yep. And that has a lot to do with it. And people love it.
So Corey, what was the biggest challenge of 18? Was it the weather? We know you want to be a weatherman, maybe? Did we find that out?
Jared just took the last question of the interview.
Yeah, we'll roll it there.
So, when I grow up, I eventually want to be a storm chaser. And I'm a nerd about weather. I'll show you my phone someday, Jared. I've got dozens of weather apps on there. And, I track the weather very closely. That's just what I do as a hobby.
So in 18, the weather was looked like it was going to be bad. Is that right?
That just takes me by surprise that you'd want to be a meteorologist over anything else in the world, which is awesome because I never would have thought it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, no, not the green screen, not the, TV kind of, news weather guy. That's not what I want. I want to be out in the thick of it and
can wear a suit jacket with shorts, be up there. So in 18, you get Lokesh getting ready to get on, and you guys, what I didn't know is you have an actual meteorologist, not somebody with a green screen, but somebody who actually knows the weather
24/7, 7 days a week
on salary for the entire time, so they can tell you what's going on.
Has major things to do with safety and monitoring.
Right. So they've got to know. So what happened?
Yeah. So that is true. We just as a added element of safety and security, the welfare of the event and the customers, we do have a weather subscription, a platform that monitors our weather. And what's nice about it is in the busyness of the event, all the things that come up, you're dealing with ticketing stuff and catering and, getting people in and out and, and all those things that just keep you preoccupied. One thing you often forget to do is, look up and, see what the weather is doing.
Right.
And often events have an additional challenge in that when you get that many people closely gathering, your cell reception isn't the greatest. So when you would typically rely on your phone for alerts or to be able to check the radar, sometimes you can't. So we do have a 24-hour weather center that monitors our event. They have our location. They specialize in understanding that we are largely a temporary venue, meaning we have a lot of tents and a lot of campers and a lot of, elements.
So when it's time to go, it's time to go.
It's time to go, right. And so you have these guys monitoring it. We can just do our job and we can focus on other things. These guys call us and say, hey, just be aware, be advised, there's some weather approaching and this is what we're seeing now and this is what we're predicting will happen. And that occurred in 2018. And, thankfully we had that ability to adapt. We could get a hold of I remember in our war room, our command center, there's some pictures. I don't know who was taking pictures in the middle of all this.
Who was that?
But
it wasn't me.
There are pictures of Luke and I, just like huddled in front of the, computer screen and on the phone.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Getting the weather reports, and then we have.
So were you worried it wouldn't go off?
No, what it did is it escalated from where we were in the war room, huddled by your monitor on the phone, and then it was like, okay, I think it might dissipate or something, and then all of a sudden we went back stage, and it got a hold of the touring manager for Low Cash and then Chris and Preston. Now all of a sudden we're all huddled around Corey's phone.
You're all looking at it.
And it's like, hey, the meteorologist said, hey, it might just dissipate. It might just split. It looks like give it like 15 minutes and should split and should be all good. And there's Chris and Preston from Low Cash going, we want to do the show. People are amped, and they were, and the crowd was all ready. And they're like, we'll wait. No, don't worry. We'll wait. And then you got the call from the meteorologist and literally said, hey, it's going to split. And then all of a sudden we're watching your phone. We're all huddled behind Corey's phone. And it literally splits by the cow and it goes, poof, and it's over.
Wow.
And they absolutely crushed it that night and actually played for about 30 more minutes than what they were scheduled for. And that was a great thing.
They were all happy.
Everybody.
Yep. Corey, what do you think the future for Indie Country Fest holds?
Well, so stay tuned. We're working on some really, really cool things that will roll out here in the future. We're going through the R&D process right now, and we just really want to get it dialed in. And what I'll say, in addition to that, and just kind of reinforcing that statement, is we don't ever want to do anything. We don't want to roll out anything unless we have it dialed in. And so we mock it up and we reverse engineer it, and we figure out all of the, the points where it's weak or could fail or, cause other issues, before we roll something like that out. And you saw that recently in, our switch to, a different ticket platform. Right. We did the research and we spent the time, and, some of these things aren't the funnest, category to be dealing with, right. But it's for the betterment of the event. And that's why we made the change. So there's some really cool, exciting things. For 2020, we had already unveiled, the casino. So that'll be, Casino 2.0 unveiling in 21. There's no other festival that has an on-site casino. So that's a really cool thing that's brought to us by NDSU Team Makers, which it's so great to have them partner with us. They're just a massive powerhouse in the state and a great community partner, and we love being partnered with them. And then we added also a Dream Deck. So there's a couple of things that we unveiled for 2020 that we spent a lot of time working on and getting to that point where we felt we could do it. But, Rona happened, and,
we're back to scheming.
Push it off. Right. So, but there's some really cool things. But what I want to leave you with on that topic is just that stay tuned. We're not done with bringing Indie Country Fest to the next level, and we're in it for the long haul. We're not just, here to, do, what we can do or make the most of what we can make out in North Dakota. It's North Dakota's festival, and we're proud to be part of it in whatever way we can. But we also want to bring things to North Dakota that North Dakota has never seen before. So there's a lot of exciting stuff in the future.
Sounds like it.
Exciting times. Well, Corey, thanks again. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. Appreciate you for everything that you do at Indie Country Fest. Thanks for joining us today at the podcast, and we will see you later, my friend.
Corey, nice meeting you.
Brothers and sisters, I hear you asking yourself day after day, what am I gonna have for lunch? Do I want another burger? No. Do I need another taco? No. Brothers and sisters, may I introduce you to Bruno's Pizza. Pizza is the bread of endless possibilities. What can go on a pizza can go in a calzone wrap. Look beyond a pepperoni, 32 pizzas in a snack. If you like heat, try the Lava Hawaiian. Marauder Pizza is also kicking. You need Bruno's Pizza in your life. Let the humble Bruno's Pizza lift you up from your hunger and deliver you into the realm of satisfaction. East Front Avenue, online at brunosnd.com. Can I get a napkin?
All right, this is where we're going to fry our way into Ralphie's top three. This is where we get a hold of Ralphie. We give him the top three of any subject, and then he gets a little personal and tells us what his top three might be. So, Ralphie, are you there? There you are on Zoom.
I'm here. Zoom.
For all our people listening, jump onto the YouTube. You can see Ralphie in the flesh, baby.
Doesn't get any better than this.
Here we go. Ralphie, are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Give us you're fashionable guy, right?
Oh yeah.
Light on your feet. I've seen you dance.
A few times.
Top 3 shoe brands that you wear of all time.
Okay, you're going to go after the wheels, right? 3, I would go New Balance.
Are you an old man?
I know.
Are you a nurse?
70s?
Hey, I'm over the 40 mark. I feel comfortable in a comfortable pair of shoes.
Velcro or
not
tie?
stylish.
A Velcro for sure.
Easy on,
No
easy
time
off.
to tie shoes.
Nice. All right, number 2.
2, I'm going to Nike.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, Nike.
Why?
Why would you be surprised that Nike would be in the top 2?
Trackster.
Well, that I don't know about that.
It's got to be 1, 2, 3, right?
Well, Nike's a staple in the top
Right.
3.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hit that button, Jared. Number 1.
Oh, hold on.
Ralphie's number 1 shoe brand.
I'm going with the little track favorite, Asics.
What?
Yeah, pretty uneventful, I know. But
Yeah.
Why Asics?
Asics, I'm going to give a shout out to my camera just stopped. You got to be kidding me.
Change the battery pack, bro.
All right, so we'll start this over. Or are we
Oh,
gonna
it
roll
would have
with
been
it?
perfect. You just
We're
keep
gonna roll with
rolling.
it?
It'll come back on. He'll switch it on
Just
over to
change
his
it.
laptop.
Okay, so what is your favorite?
What's your favorite shoe brand of all time?
Well, I've lost my brain in the last year and a half, right? I'm all about the
Game of
Adidas.
Thrones.
So we've got the
Oh,
Game
you
of-
took it off.
I took it
That's
off.
nasty, man.
So this is the second
That's
time we've been
gross.
through it, right? So we might as well. We got the Game of Thrones Ultra Boost. This is the House Targaryen Dragonfire.
I
But
could see that.
Honestly, if you do you have a pair of Ultra Boosts?
No.
You really should go get a pair.
No, I'm more of the designer of the Chinese designer.
That's true. You got the Facebook knockoff, whatever those shoes are.
Hey, and they're awesome.
Is there a brand?
Because
What are they called? Like,
can't pronounce it. I don't even know what they're called.
how would you find it or sell it if they sponsored it?
I have them on my favorites.
They should be a sponsor, right? Like you have gotten.
No,
so
they'll be
many
like,
good-
what? Anywhere I go, people are like, awesome shoes. Where do you get those?
Right. They are. People love them.
And they're comfortable and people buy them.
So they're kind of like a dress shoe with a sneaker sole.
Yep, exactly. And they're comfortable and, you can look sporty or you can look fashionable.
Wait, hold on. Are you wearing them now?
This is more of a different brand.
This is a knockoff version. Well, this is.
No, these are the real deal.
These are the real deal. Of the
Yeah.
knockoff version.
I graduated.
We got Ralphie back.
I told you
Hey.
you could bring it right back.
We rolled with it.
Did we already go with Asics? We did.
We did. So why
Asics.
Asics?
Little track story. We were on a bus and I was complaining about my feet just killing, at a track meet all day. They get long,
Standing
8
around.
10 hours,
Whoa.
standing around watching people do activities is last. And he suggested Asics and I haven't wavered since.
That's true. I've seen some of your old Asics.
My wife
Yeah.
has a couple pair because she was told by runners that they're the best shoes. So
They are.
I don't know. You should try Ultra Boost, Ralphie. They are the greatest shoe I've ever worn. So
I might do that.
I went from being a Nike guy to straight up got rid of all my Nikes and all I have. I must have bought like 8 to 10 pairs of Adidas.
And
last year
fast.
half. Yeah, it was like straight up addict. tap that Adidas into me. So
It's good for your walking.
it is good for my walking. They're great shoes. And you know what the best part about it is?
Huh.
I can throw them in a washer or clean them up real quick. and they don't fall apart unlike other brands. So, good shoe.
Hey, Ralphie, as usual, it's always a pleasure, my friend. For those of you listening, jump over to our YouTube. You can see Ralphie on our Zoom, and then you can see him off the Zoom, and then you can see him right back on the Zoom. And it's awesome. Different camera
he got
angles.
to mess with the battery pack and all that joy we've been having to deal with.
All right, my man. We'll see you next time. See you later.
Rah, rah, rah.
All right, let's bounce into stage left. That's where Jared and I get a little personal, see what we did last weekend and what has been going on in our own lives. So, Jared, what did you do last weekend? What's new in the Jared Bennett world?
Not much. I fixed an irrigation leak at my house and then created another problem. So I put it away and said, I'm going to call Luis and have him come over and fix it for me. So I think I need a solenoid or something.
I bet he was glad that you tried to fix it.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to cover up the holes I dug and pretend that they weren't there. So that, hopefully he'll go around it. I watched a lot of Netflix. Adam Sandler has a new Netflix movie out called Hubie Halloween. It's cute.
It's cute.
It's cute. It's fun. I'd almost say it's good enough for your kids, but there's a couple adult things, so I don't know.
They aren't.
Yeah, maybe a little older kids, but it's still a good Halloween movie. It's got like Ray Liotta in it. Ben Stiller's in it. There's just a bunch of celebrity cameos plus his normal casting crew. Got a little Dan Patrick in there playing a principal. I enjoyed
I bet
that.
you were excited about that.
I love me some Dan Patrick. And then, one from way back that I somehow missed was From Paris with Love. And I was just looking for anything at that point.
That's old, isn't it?
It's old from from 10. It's got John Travolta in it playing a CIA spy, bald head, running around doing crazy stuff in Paris. Do you know who Luc Besson is? Did you ever see The Professional?
Yeah.
That's one of his good movies. Like they call it Leon the Professional, but it's God, what's her name? Oh, come on.
I couldn't tell you. You have The Fifth Element as the next one.
Well, The Fifth Element Busan wrote, which is a general argument around my house, whether that was a good movie or a bad movie. For the longest time, I love that movie.
Yeah.
And my wife hates that movie. And every time she wants to mock my movie ability, she goes to The Fifth Element. So I think last summer I watched The Fifth Element and then another movie from that time, Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers really holds up way better than The Fifth Element.
The Light Jumper fellas like Star Trip.
Whatever. Have you never seen Starship Troopers?
No.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you gotta watch some movies every now and then.
As you know, I don't watch many
you just
movies.
got caught up with Game of Thrones. So
Yeah.
You'll see that.
I barely had time to do that.
It was nothing like the chaos going on at the Schaefer house. So
This
what
weekend?
happened? Yeah.
Chaos of none.
Yeah, none?
We had 17 people there at the house.
That's chaos. I would have
To
lost
you, it
my-
might be chaos. To some, it might be fun.
Well, you grew up in a big family.
Yeah.
Like I have a sister and I had a basement. Everybody had their rooms and
You don't come out of your room.
Right. It's very quiet. When it gets hectic, when we would have the Schaefer family reunions, there were 17 people and all my nieces and nephews would get together. And I'm the oldest. My sister, who's 3 years younger than me, is the next oldest.
Yep.
And then there's a drop off of about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And we would all get together at the house in Jackson, my grandparents' house. I would literally go hide in the pantry with a book so that I could stay away from all the kids yelling and screaming at me to throw them around. And I just not,
okay.
Just it gets loud.
So just so we're accurate, this was not the Schaefer reunion.
It's not the Schaefer reunion.
It was my wife's sisters and then their husbands and kids.
All right.
And it was a blast. It was a blast. Everybody gets along.
It's the Kimmy family reunion?
Yeah, everybody gets along. All the kids get along. It was fun. Everybody cooks. Everybody cleans. Everybody helps out. I mean, 17 people in a house, it's a lot, but you'd think it would be chaos. Not even close. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hanging out in the pool, a lot of grilling, a lot of having some Coors.
Some what? Coors Light? Oh, all right.
And that was a good time. And it was great. Even worked on the Bronco a little bit.
Thank goodness. Did you get an AC put in that thing?
We did not get an AC put in there.
How about like a mobile cellular booster so we don't get all choppy when we're...
No, we were thinking about dropping a different carburetor in there, but we did not get to that.
Make it a little louder?
Yeah. No, make it a little faster, a little power.
A little more fast?
A little more power.
That thing's fun.
It was great. It was good. It was good. My brother-in-law, Zach, loves to work on cars. He's great at it. He's perfect.
Perfect.
And I was like, he's like, let's take a look. And we went for a rip. And then he's like, let's do a couple things to it. So we did a couple things, and that was great. It's always good to have an extra pair of hands too. I actually let him do most of it.
Yeah. It's not like me fixing a car and breaking it and having to call in somebody.
The other brother-in-law, Sam, he loves to cook too. So he was making killer breakfast burritos.
Really? What'd you do?
And guess where he's from?
Where's he from?
Wyoming.
Oh, what part?
Just outside of, he's 80 miles from Cody. I can't remember the name of
Powell, Thermopolis, Basin.
I think it's Basin, actually. Somewhere around there. It was pretty cool.
I've done the tour of all those small towns playing high school football and basketball, and I've seen the inside of every old gym when I was growing up.
But it was a good time. It was good seeing all my nieces, and the kids had a good time, and it was fun. It was absolutely a good time, and everybody, like I said, it just pitched in, felt like a holiday.
Felt like a holiday. Cool. It was like it was, right? It's Indigenous People Day or Columbus Day or whatever you feel like it.
Not quite sure. We just had a great time.
It's just confusing. All right, Luke. So how do they find us?
How do they find us? You tell us how they find us on the podcast system, and I'll do the YouTube.
All right. So if you go to iTunes or all of your podcasting sources, you can find us there. Just search the Fest podcast and we'll pop up. And rate us, review us, subscribe, leave a comment or a review, and we will repeat it on the air. As such, we had a couple. We had one talking about my mojito making skills and my culinary skills.
Oh, I did see that.
All right, Mr. Lyons, we thank you for going on and doing that.
Thank you.
And then we had another one.
I believe he said Jared's mojitos are second to none.
Yeah, second to none.
Wow.
That's a pretty good. He should know. He's had a few.
Oh, it's a friend.
Yes, he's one of my tailgating guys.
I got you.
Nobody else is at my mojitos at that point, so it'd be weird if some random dude I didn't know said, "Hey, Jared, your mojitos are great." I'd be like,
never know.
So then,
you'd be like, "Sounds really good."
Sounds really good. I'll make one for you. So how do they find us on YouTube, buddy?
So head on over to YouTube if you want to see this in the flesh, in person. Our boys from Like Jumper cut this baby up and make it look phenomenal. So jump over there, hit subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and hit that so you get our notifications as well. Anytime we drop a new YouTube, which is every Friday, you'll get that new YouTube up there and you can watch it.
We want 100 subscribers. So.
Yeah, we need 100 subscribers, and what we're going to do on the first 100 subscribers, we're going to drop you into a drawing for festival tickets that are possibly going to be around the nation, if not the
If not, I'm going to have one last pumpkin.
These pumpkins are delicious.
They are good.
If you like what you're about to hear, that's our boys, Quaker City Nighthawks. But you know what? Here's to you. Here's to me. You know the rest. And we are...
It's gonna be a great outro.